I'd like to bring up an idea that I'm seeing a lot of now that I've tried to respond to some of the comments on some of the videos that I've made. Uh, and that is this concept. Really think this through. I see a lot of people saying it's called the argument ad populum. Um, you're arguing that because it's popular, it's correct. And that's a fallacy. That's a logical fallacy. Um, Argumentum ad populum, I think it's called, or something close to that. But what it means is that a long time ago they said they used to promote things by saying 50,000 Elvis fans can't be wrong. So you should buy the album, right? Because if 50,000 people like it, if it's popular, then it must be good. And so you should get on the bandwagon. Uh, there's another argument, the argument to authority. So because somebody important said it, or somebody smart said it, or because somebody successful said it, and that's the one I want to tackle, then it must be true. And that's not correct either. Um, all those people can make mistakes. Authorities make mistakes. Just because somebody's successful, or that's the one I want to talk about. So let's stick with that. Just because somebody is successful does not mean they did it right or they know how to do it right. The shining example is in business. If your idea of success is a business that can make $1,000,000, and we have two businesses, one of which made $1,000,000, so by our definition, it's successful. But it did it by creating a product and or service that was more valuable. It produced a better product, or it produced the same product at a lower price, or something like that. It used it made its $1,000,000 in that way. Versus the second company that made $1,000,000 by lying, cheating, stealing, and other shenanigans. Now, by our definition, both companies are successful. They both profited $1,000,000. But my point here is that both of them didn't do it the same way, and both of them didn't do it what we would call the right way. And so let's take this let's take this with us into the argument that I want to make in powerlifting and coaching. Just because someone is successful does not mean they did it right. I have seen lots of great deadlifts, very successful world record deadlifts that are piss poor form. They're terrible. They didn't do it right, but they were successful. Does that mean you should copy them because they were successful? No, it doesn't. So my argument that I want to make is that your success is not proof that you know what you're talking about. Proof that you know what you're talking about is that your argument holds up to science, physics, common sense. And that's the one that, whether you have a science background or a physics background or a math background, doesn't matter. You all have common sense. And so if someone's argument of how to do, let's take for example a bench press, doesn't hold up to common sense, it's probably not going to be right. And you all know a little bit about physics because you were kids and you've watched enough movies, and you've seen cars crash, and you've seen balls bounce, and you've watched sports, and that's all a sense of physics that you have. If I knock a ball off a table and it doesn't fall at the right rate, which is gravity, you'll notice it in a second. You'll notice that something's off. And if it doesn't bounce correctly, you'll know that that's not how things go. You know enough about angles and bounces and car crashes and things like that. My cats are trying to get my food. That your common sense will hold up. So if someone makes an argument that you should do it because I'm an authority or because I was good at it. Get out of here. Or any argument that, or because I went to school even. And this is the physics of it, and they explain it, and maybe you don't understand, maybe you do. Use your common sense. An authority should have an education and experience. And those two things, when he explains himself, should follow right along with your common sense. Lots of people don't have degrees, and they have a lot of experience, and that's good. And some people have a lot of book learning, and they don't have a lot of experience, and that's okay too. But there's enough coaches out there now that have the book learning, they have the knowledge and the education, and they have the experience too. They've been there and done that. And so that's what you should be looking for. And these people that say, well, he must be right because look what he could bench. That's not enough anymore. It was before. I understand that. Way back when you went into a gym, like when I went into a gym, there was no books. There was no internet. 1979, there was none of this stuff. You went into the gym and you looked for the strongest guy and you said, how'd you do that? Those are the old days. You got the internet now. You got books at your disposal on the internet now. And you got enough coaches and athletes who have become coaches who have done it both. And they've got an education. So they're coaching now. They were an athlete, and they're smart because they got an education. And everything they say should line up with your common sense. If it doesn't, spit it back out. So I want to just dispossess you of the idea that you have to listen to somebody if they bench more than you, or if they hold a world record in the bench. If that idea doesn't sound right, and they can't explain it, and they just say, do it because I did it, and look at what I can bench, that just isn't enough anymore. It's not enough for me anyways. Maybe it's enough for you. Maybe you're just like, hey, this guy benched 500, so I'm going to do what he says. All right, that's one way to go about it. But you don't have to. You don't have to settle for that anymore. There's plenty of information at your fingertips right on this internet. So that's the idea I wanted to throw out. Take it for what it's worth. Thanks for listening.